This is our countdown of the top 10 upcoming PlayStation 4 action-adventure games in 2016. For fans of the genre, you've got a loaded year to look forward to. Let's get right into this with number 10. Number 10, Gravity Rush 2. Originally a Vita game, Gravity Rush pits you as a girl named Kat who has the ability to manipulate gravity and implement it into her combat, travel, etc. While it wasn't perfect, it was a very good game and there was a ton of potential for future entries. And that's what we have now, Gravity Rush 2 releasing exclusively on the PlayStation 4. Gravity Rush 2 will feature the core mechanics of the first game but refined, and one of the goals of the sequel is to make the entire world and characters feel alive. The issue with the original game was that while Kat was a very engaging character, everyone else felt extremely secondary. Gravity Rush 2 is expected to release this year. Number 9, Shadow Warrior 2. Shadow Warrior 2 is the sequel to 2013 Shadow Warrior Reboot, which was a fantastic game. That game was extremely stylish and the gameplay was ridiculously fun. Shadow Warrior 2 is set 5 years after the events of the original. You have to battle armies of demons that have invaded the world sent by another dimension. Okay, so the story is kind of ridiculous, but you play Shadow Warrior for the gameplay, and that is looking pretty great in the sequel. Featuring over 70 different weapons that can be leveled up by killing enemies. Shadow Warrior 2 will also include a 4-player co-op mode, which is a nice addition. The game is expected to release this year.
Guys, you're dead.
Number 8, Rise of the Tomb Raider. Okay, so Rise of the Tomb Raider isn't a completely brand new game, but PS4 players still haven't had a chance to play it. The game was released as a timed exclusive on the Xbox One last year, it arrived on PC back in January, and PS4 players will finally get their chance to play it later in the fall. Even though it's a year late to the party, I highly recommend still playing Rise of the Tomb Raider. If you were a fan of the 2013 reboot, this is an absolute must-play. It improves on every aspect from that game. More variety to the gameplay, a more engaging story, a bigger world. This is the best Tomb Raider game so far. Hopefully they'll give PS4 gamers all of the DLC to make the game a bit more enticing, since at the end of the day it will be a year old when we play it. The game is expected to release Q4 this year. Number 7, Dishonored 2. 2012's Dishonored was one of the most surprisingly good games of that year. Arcane Studios didn't have an amazing track record of delivering AAA games, but they absolutely knocked it out of the park with Dishonored. An action-adventure stealth game with multiple ways to play, so many options for exploration, and an engaging world, story, and characters. Gamers have been clamoring for a sequel, and this year Dishonored 2 will arrive. Not a lot is known about the game, all we've seen is a CG trailer. What we do know is that the game will allow the player to play as either Emily Caldwin or Corvo Attano, who was the protagonist in the first game. The developers have also stated that there will be a third part to the game, though we don't have any details about that. Hopefully we'll see more gameplay at E3 this year. Dishonored 2 is scheduled for a release on November 11th. Number 6, Mafia 3. Mafia 2 was a terrific game on last generation platforms that it's surprising it took this long to get out a third game, but here it is, Mafia 3. While Mafia 2 was relatively linear, the third game will be a full-blown open world title set in New Orleans, allowing the player to freely explore the world. The story is set in 1968 and follows Lincoln Clay, an orphan and a veteran. After a murder attempt that kills his whole mob but him, the surviving Clay starts his own criminal organization in an attempt for revenge. Mafia 3 does look much more action-y than its predecessor. That is going to put some people off, but hopefully the game delivers when it releases on October 7th. Number 5, Nioh. Nioh is a historical action RPG being developed by Team Ninja, the guys that are famous for Ninja Gaiden. Nioh has been in development for a long time. The game was announced back in 2004 as a PlayStation 3 exclusive expected to release in 2006, but it was finally re-revealed last year as a PS4 exclusive and instantly became one of the console's most promising games. The game stylistically looks like Onimusha and the gameplay looks very similar to Dark Souls. What's interesting about Nioh is as a console game, it will allow players to choose between a more stable frame rate or a higher resolution. Options that would be more typical in a PC game. It's nice to see a developer giving those options for console players too. Nioh is expected to release this year. Number 4, The Last Guardian. The Last Guardian is another game that has been in development for a very long time. It was announced back at Sony's E3 conference in 2009. For a while, we didn't know what was going on with the game. Some thought it had been cancelled, but those worries were put to rest at last year's E3, where the game had been shown off again as a PS4 title. The Last Guardian is being developed by Team Ico. They worked on two of the best PS2 games of all time in Ico and Shadow of the Colossus. Those games were extremely artistic and emotional, and you can expect that from Last Guardian as well. It's an action-adventure platformer where you play as a little boy and his pet dog-bird hybrid creature Trico. Hopefully after the long wait, Last Guardian lives up to the expectations. It's expected to release this year. Number 3, No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky is a survival adventure game being developed by the small studio over at Hello Games. The game takes the traditional open world gameplay formula and amplifies it by becoming an open universe game, allowing the player to travel between many procedurally generated planets. And when I say many, we're talking 18 quintillion planets, offering a near endless amount of content. It's an extremely ambitious game, and if nothing else, you have to respect Hello Games for trying to make such an enormous game. Now, if we could get VR support, that would be amazing, but currently that hasn't been confirmed. No Man's Sky releases on June 21st. Number 2, Uncharted 4: A Thief's End. Uncharted has always been one of the PlayStation's marquee exclusives, and considering with Uncharted 4, Naughty Dog is closing the book on Nathan Drake, you know they want to deliver the best game in the series yet. Uncharted 4 is set several years after Uncharted 3. Drake has settled into a normal life, but obviously that doesn't last long. His brother Sam, long believed dead, reappears seeking Drake's help. Together they embark on a global journey in search of a long-lost pirate colony and its treasure. Uncharted 4 is raising the bar on everything that the previous games have done, from visuals to gameplay. It looks to all be taking a gigantic step forward. And don't forget, outside of the single-player mode, you also have the multiplayer, which judging by the beta is pretty good. Uncharted 4 is almost here, scheduled for a release on May 10th.
Morning, boys.
Up there, in that tower.
Ah, shit.
No,
crap! Oh, that kind of hurt.
move it out. Clap it.
Finally, number 1, Horizon Zero Dawn. Horizon Zero Dawn is an open-world action RPG being developed by Guerrilla Games. Those are the guys that developed Killzone, one of the PlayStation's standout first-person shooters. However, Horizon Zero Dawn is completely different than Killzone. The game takes place in a post-apocalyptic world where mechanized creatures such as robotic dinosaurs have taken over. Yeah, at the very least, it's an extremely unique setting. The gameplay also looks very interesting. The main character, Aloy, can detach parts from the robotic creatures and use them in combat. You'll also notice the amazing visuals Horizon has. Guerrilla has always gotten out amazing graphics, and that looks to be no different with Horizon Zero Dawn. The game is currently scheduled for a 2016 release, however there have been several rumors suggesting the game has been delayed until 2017, possibly to allow for PlayStation Neo optimization. Whatever the case may be, this looks to be one of the PlayStation 4's most promising titles.
Time to shut you down!
So that wraps up our countdown of the top 10 upcoming PlayStation 4 action-adventure games. Let us know what you think. Do you agree with our list? Disagree? Did we miss a game that you think should be on this list? Comment with your thoughts down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.